God is love, and where true love is, God himself is there. Even though I know that God himself is there, I hope we are nearing the end of the lentiest Lent that ever Lent. This Lent has felt like, and has been, a year-long journey. I hope it has been one of self-reflection, self-improvement, self-denial. It certainly has been a year of learning new ways to be church, different ways of caring for community. It's been a year of being socially distant in a socially aware, social needs. We do things as an act of love to care for each other. I get to remove my mask so I can preach and be heard. And yet I will put that mask back on so that Jesus can be seen and heard. This is the second Maundy Thursday that has been live streamed by our church because it is safer and healthier than being in closer contact. It's an act of love. Small, but it's an act of love. An act of giving more than you're getting in return. And it's a conflict that humans struggle with every day. We ask, what's in it for me? How will this benefit my family? But I want. And yet all of our readings for tonight point away from self and directly at Jesus. Reminders of generosity and of betrayal. Reminders about how Jesus handled generosity and betrayal. There's a tweet from several years ago that makes its rounds this time of year. Stephen Benzer said on Twitter, "Sometimes I joke about what I'd do if I had one day left to live. Eat junk? Go crazy?" Today it hit me. Jesus knew, and he washed feet. I know for certain that I would not respond to generosity and betrayal by touching feet. I would not spend my last day on earth touching feet. Would you? What would you do if you knew you had one day left to live? Would you spend a lot of money? Would you eat all the junk food? I might do that. Would you do something illegal, knowing it wouldn't matter if you got caught? Jesus knew it was his last night with this group of people, and he washed their feet. He also enjoyed a lavish Passover meal where a lot of money was probably spent in order to serve special, once-a-year foods, recipes that were prepared and shared without thought of cost or health. Money also changed hands that night for the purpose of arresting an innocent man. That innocent man repaid these lavish actions, both generosity and betrayal, by giving himself fully to their service. So I'm thinking, how big is the love of God? And Lenten reflection creeps in and asks instead, how present is the love of God? God is love, and where true love is, God himself is there. We're in a small room. We're surrounded with mixed loyalties There's an electric feeling surrounding us. And our teacher and Lord gets up and ties a towel around himself and brings out a basin of water. Look into the basin. Look at Jesus' hands. See the water. Watch it flow between the toes. The toes of Peter, the toes of Judas, your own toes. Water that gets pulled below the layers of your skin. Water that stays trapped under your toenails. So much water that it spills over your feet and back into the basin and onto the floor and soaks into the towel. This is water of life, water of salvation. It's flowing, blessing, surrounding, supporting, cooling, warming. That's the love of God. That is how far, how deep, how wide. And that doesn't even begin to describe it. That love is present in the basin, on the hands of the cleanser, around the feet of the receiver, present to the eyes of the onlooker, present to the nose of those who can't see. We can use lotion and retain that water deep within our feet. We can use a towel to get it off of us. But the water doesn't disappear. It soaks into the towel, it dissipates into the air, it fills our lungs, nourishes our blood and our bones. Molecules of love, overflowing with generosity and overcoming betrayal. I don't always see the water in the basin, but we can take time to remember what it looks like, to recreate it. The first reading called it a perpetual ordinance, a yearly remembrance. And the second part of John's Gospel tonight, Jesus is very clear when he says, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. It is human nature to react like Judas and choose what will benefit ourselves instead of others. But it's also in our human nature to act like Peter and insist that if the good Lord's willing, we be washed toe to head. Jesus reminds us that he has already washed over us by calling us to belong to him and calling us to belong to each other. To follow the example of the 10 others or more who sat at that table. They had their feet washed by their Lord and Master, who became their servant. And when they looked into the water in the basin, they saw the reflection of their own face next to Jesus. And they let their human nature get washed away with love so present that it could not be avoided. I have avoided this Thursday night service my entire life. I have never been to a Maundy Thursday service until now. I can't stand to have my feet touched. But in this Lentiest Lent that ever Lented, I'm learning to stop looking at the feet and pay attention to the water. because God is love. And where true love is, God is there.